Folks, welcome back to the channel. I was always taught throughout my life, especially when I was younger, if you just leave someone to talk, they normally interrogate themselves, and this seems to have been the case in this situation. Now, I asked a very simple question because I missed all of this. I work a full-time job, but I don't have the privilege of pulling a rug on people for a lot of money. I asked a question, and the question was pretty simple, and it was just, in the event that you do not get any of these funds back, how are you going to make holders whole again? Is that part of the plan? That wasn't answered. I've got a lot of clips to go through in this video. It's going to be a long one, but I feel like out of this whole 3 hours and 20 minutes, okay, he ignores that question around 8 different times. The lack of remorse for what they've done, the lack of owning up to the responsibility falling on them, it's disgusting. And honestly, my one bit of advice for anyone who's involved in TERRAPORT right now, I would go and look for legal support on your own behalf, because you're not... There's a clip, so I don't want to say this. I'm going to let the videos speak for themselves. Let's jump straight into it.
Any other kind of crime in crypto, or even out of crypto, I just, I'd whore it. I really do. But, we've been told that these people will never come to justice. You'll never find individuals connected with the groups. You'll never get the funds returned from them. Who am I to question that? I hope they're wrong. But yeah,
I just noticed
the police force aren't interested in this in the UK. I've reported it to them. They passed it on to somebody else. But I understand what you're saying, and I've given you the name of the person you can go to ask, and I think they'll just tell you that. If they tell you who it is, I'm really chuffed for you. It'll not do you any good, I don't think. But yeah, I was just asked not to, and I'm just respecting that.
Yeah. ASOS did the same thing earlier, and he says, Trev, in the event that they cannot get the funds back, how will they repay investors? We just talked about that, Happy, but do you just want to recap that again real quick, Rexzy?
I think you might as well just go back and just, because it'll just make your video longer, and we kind of talked that, I don't mean to
we did kind of talk it to death. I guess, Happy.
So amongst all of the minutes spent in this whole live session that has been produced, you've seen the same thing over and over again. I was asked to go backwards. I did. And honestly, let's go through a few of the vital points that I've clipped out from sitting and draining my mind of listening to this repetitive, digging a hole, contradicting themselves, going back and forwards. Let's jump back in.
Investigators and legal agencies and things like that, and was advised not to tell anybody about what we was doing. So we couldn't really communicate, and there's other things to play as well, in terms of, by communicating openly, it would reduce the risk of us getting funds back for investors and things like this. So so that's why we kept quiet. And it's one reason why, when we just put the proposal together just recently, to suggest securing on-chain funds, which wasn't something we necessarily wanted to do, but we wanted to be able to exhaust all the options to say to our investors, look, it might not be popular, but we're prepared to do what we think gives you the best opportunity to get the money back.
So a key thing to note is it's always you as the holder. This is you. This is your problem. This is not my problem. I didn't do the robbery. This is on you. Do note that, folks. This is stuff that you need to absorb as a holder now, I think. The reality setting in, and like I was saying, when you see someone's reactions to questions and you can see their body language, it tells a huge story. Something we noticed with Rexzy during all of this is the consistent For him, he's looking to his right-hand side. For us, he keeps looking to his left-hand side. He will always look to his left, and then he comes back. And that's how he gets his answer. And he'll likely do that when he's thinking as well as to how does he need to respond to this to keep the story as it is.
Really pleasant, professional conversation about what TerraVita was up to, and what our plans were to help with the development and the rescue of the chain. Because our goal wasn't about making TerraVita great; it's about making Terra Classic great. That's what TerraVita's, the interpretation of it is bringing life to Terra, and Terra Classic, if you like. That's what the silent C's for. So time
and time again, we hear the same thing over and over again. We was building everything for the blockchain. It was all for Terra Classic. Everything was for Terra Classic. But the one thing to note, and you'll notice this throughout these clips, is that they weren't doing this. They were privatizing a whole sector. They had developers lined up out the door to sign on to their blockchain, to build on their blockchain, because TerraPort, the coin, everything was just a new blockchain for them. They were just using LUNC as the startup community to privatize their little sector. And it's always been this case because, like I stated recently in my videos, they're just a failed branch of Terra Rebels from the infighting and everything. The sheer lack of understanding that this guy has, and I warned everybody about this. This guy's the reason why I left Terra Rebels. I warned everybody. His sheer lack of understanding was an absolute hazard, and he was just a very self-centered, narcissistic person. And that's my own personal opinion, which I'm entitled to, because I've had to deal with this guy on a basis of being in the same team as him, because I was once part of that marketing team. Let's jump back in. Invested in TerraPort, and I was just looking at it, and I refreshed the screen, and I thought, looks a little bit different. And I thought, what's going on here? So this would be extremely shortly after the incident. And I got in touch with our developers, and we started to, kind of investigate it. And then all of a sudden, it dawned on us that it had been an attack and not a flaw in the code or anything like that. And our strategy that we came up with was we need to rescue the funds. And the way to rescue the funds is that if you allow the attackers to think that they've got the upper hand and let them put all the money into the sexes, then the sexes only allow you to release a certain amount of money at a go. So therefore, even if they release $20,000 or $50,000 at a go, you've got that opportunity to capture it all. So I reached out to Binance. And I looked at some of the other exchanges and tried to, make some contact with them. But I was kind of struggling to make the contact that I wanted to make the contact with, if you like. Wasn't so much about going through a contact center or, customer service. It's about, I need to talk to somebody here to understand that we don't want anything announcing about this, because we want the funds to go into the sexes, because that's how we can rescue it. And then, I managed to get a message through our mutual contact through to kind of CZ, who kind of I think, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I know we got a message through to them, and all of a sudden, I think the exchanges started to kind of lock some stuff down, and also, So if you didn't catch it there, they pretty much just saw that this attack was happening after he refreshed his screen on his mobile phone. They thought the best approach was just to simply allow those funds to escape into CEXs. A good thing to note with all of these funds, we're in DeFi, okay? Not DeFi, okay? DeFi. The ownership of these funds is vague at best, okay? He has had an inside man, which was clearly the person who wrote the smart contracts, which is supposed to be only one guy, which they backtrack on. And it's apparently 5 guys had access. 3 of them were Italians. They don't speak English. He doesn't speak Italian. They were transmitting through Telegram. It's absolutely insane. Like I said, normally somebody interrogates themselves and You know, going through this whole thing, it's just like, oh my God, he's walking around in circles. Like, why has he decided to do this live, to trip himself up in this manner? I'm very concerned for all of the people involved in TERRAPORT right now. Deeply concerned, because you're probably not going to get your money back. And it's made very clear throughout Rex's statements that he's made publicly on a YouTube channel. It's not good. Let's jump back in
these things. And that's the difference between DeFi or DeFi, if you like, in the blockchain and the real world. In the real world, you know the people, you just don't know what their accounts are. In the blockchain world, you know exactly what the accounts are and where the money is. You just don't know who it belongs to. Yeah. So to answer the question,
unless there's a memo in there with a name, which apparently has kind of happened too. All right, so that kind of spells out, you know, how it happened, what you kind of did, who these developers are, because I you know, honestly, I haven't been following it. That do we know who these developers are, whether it's their pseudonym or whatever?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's in our white paper. It has been for months and months on end, which we published. So you know, you got Cronte, Tony, is it, and Man12C, you know, as what their tags are. And you can chat with them in the Telegram groups. You know, they're very open, and they use Telegram because they speak Italian, and it's very good for translating language. I don't speak Italian; they don't speak English particularly well, so that's how we communicate. That's why we don't hear a lot of them on Discord and things like this, or you won't talk to them in the real world much because, you know, you got them language issues.
All right, so you reach.
Everybody panic! Oh my God!
That helps you to see what was going on. What kind of do they have admin access? These three guys, who has the access to actually go in and look at the actual code, or maybe even edit the code, change the code? Is it all three of these guys?
No, there's only to manage risk. There's very few access, so I don't have access to it. I'm not a developer. Right. What's the point of me having access to it? You know, It's just an extra person to introduce risk in it. I could get hacked. Somebody could pretend to be me. So what's the point? And I'm not going to do anything with it. It's like with the L1 GitHub. You know, our team operates that. We just, in terms of keeping it stable, but I don't go in it. I have no need to go in it. You know, just because you help operate something doesn't mean you need access to everything. And from a organizational perspective, I don't micromanage people. I try to enable people to be the best that they can be.
Okay, folks, so he's just stated only one person had access to the system, to the smart contracts. Let's keep listening.
You know, that's so in terms of the people that needed access to it to operate it and develop it, they're the ones that had access to it. So from our point of view, we had our main smart contract developer, if you like. And then I think there was one other person. And then there's some other developers that was contracted that helped kind of contribute to the development of it.
All right, so you're three.
I can't with this guy. Okay, so he goes from 1 to 2 to possibly some. Possibly some means possibly all. So the likelihood is you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. He originally starts with only one person has access. Now we're at, I don't know, possibly like 100 people. Let's keep going.
So your three main developers who are on the white page, they've got access to the code.
No, I didn't say that.
Wait. Hold up a second. Let's rewind.
These three guys, who has the access to actually go in and look at the actual code, or maybe even edit the code, change the code? Is it all three of these guys?
No, there's only we.
Okay,
the head smart contract engineer had access to it, and the others, you know, didn't, because they didn't need access to that. So the head smart contract engineer, and then there's a contractor they had access to it, and then the other contractors didn't have access to it, is my understanding.
So the head smart contract engineer, one of the contractors does, and the other ones don't. Do we know? Well, I know that you know, but is it public who these people are who actually have?
Wait, hold up a minute. Did he seriously just say, I didn't say there was only one person?
Well, yeah, I know that you're working on that, but let's say you don't get it back. Do you have enough resources right now to just say, listen, everybody who lost, here it is, out of my pocket. Here it is. I'm going to give it back to you because I don't want you to lose out. Are you prepared to do that?
It doesn't work like that. And also, yeah, if you understand how a DEX works, and how, yeah, it just doesn't work quite as simple as that. But we're not giving up on relaunch. I mean, we're planning to relaunch.
So as we can see, once again, are you going to make holders whole? Completely avoids that. Oh, don't you know how a DEX works? Because he clearly knows how it works. I feel so sorry for the people invested in TERRAPORT. I really do. The only thing this guy's interested in is relaunching his failed project and trying to recapture everything that they were basically going to get. And if this inside man hadn't have done this, all you would have seen is the birthing of another blockchain. Another blockchain. Nothing to do with our blockchain, just taking liquidity away from us. All of that liquidity that's gone now was liquidity that more than likely came from the LUNC community. And they thought, I'll put some of my LUNC into this because I can probably make some money while I'm waiting for the LUNC to go back up. Let's jump back in. It's going to be a few little clips here and there now because these ones are a little bit longer than these other little short bits. But this has been absolutely insane. Huge shout out to Trev for actually hosting this guy, because honestly, he's just tripped up all the way through this, and you can see the sheer lack of remorsefulness for what they've done, what they're responsible for. The holders are not getting their money back. It's absolutely insane.
Now, it's we're working on it. So, it's the thing is not whether we can relaunch it. It's about keeping the same amount of stability. We were so heavily flooded because you did ask the question, didn't you? Why did you? What made you launch earlier? And it was, through all this flood. We've just felt under so much pressure. In hindsight, we should have just ignored it, and that's why I don't respond to FUD really, and I don't answer people back that just FUD and make stuff up, make facts up, alternative facts. I just ignore it. I give it the number 4. If you like, which is what Binance does. I took or CZ, and because otherwise it puts you in a negative place, doesn't it? I'd rather just work with facts and work with positive people who want to make a difference. We've got a lot of people actually still want to build on this chain, and a lot of projects, and I think we should spend our time supporting them rather than trying to find holes in them. We've just, we're there's scams and all sorts go on, isn't there? And we've seen, I don't know, we just seem to have some unusual kind of ideas, don't we, in our network? But yeah.
I'm going to circle back because I'm just not satisfied with the answer. Sorry. To hell with the DEX. To hell with how a DEX works. Do you, Rexzy, and I know that you've already put your full name out there, but I'm going to call you Rexzy because that's what we know. Do you have the ability to say, you know what, I'm going to take care of everybody, and I'm going to come out of my own pocket, or I'm going to come out of whatever I can come out of, and I'm going to pay you guys back for what you...
So God bless Trev. This is like the 8th time he asks this straight up question, okay? He asks it as straight up as it could be once again, and here is the more straight up response that you're going to get.
You lost. I mean,
no, not myself. I don't.
Okay.
Do you?
I don't owe anybody anything. It
Well,
wasn't my project.
I don't. If somebody steals from you.
So now, instead of taking responsibility and actually saying, you know, I'm responsible for what I've produced here. I created this thing. I got people to invest in it. It was me and I'm responsible for it. He simply just turns it all around and turns it into an analogy throwing match of who can create the better of analogy as to why they're not responsible. This is just a serious case of someone who's not built to be in crypto. They're part of a different generation. They lack the understanding. They likely hired people off of Fiverr and places like that. You've got too many chefs involved with one broth and someone's put a trippy mushroom in with that broth, knocked everybody out, and then whilst everybody was sleeping, they simply crept in and took the treasury. And the biggest issue is, right, and Rexzy admits this himself when he says DeFi, okay, they can't even say that they own them funds, that they belong to them, right? So one thing I couldn't find throughout this whole thing is now the proposal is looking like it's going to fail. It was vetoed by literally everybody. I voted no. Why make these people lose even more money than they've actually lost? It's insane. He's living in a bubble. He's living in a bubble and he's acting like this is okay. What he's done's fine. And this is okay to just do this to thousands of people. It's crazy. It's literally crazy. I'm going to play the little bit of just this clip because it's absolutely hilarious.
Are you responsible for that theft?
No, if you can prove that you were stolen from.
Well, like I say,
because there's so many pieces of the puzzle that need to fit here. Listen, if it comes out that we find out who did it, we find out that, you know, nobody on your team had anything to do with it, and there's absolutely nothing you could have done about it, then
okay,
I get it. But
right, okay. If your toilet seat from your project breaks,
okay,
is it broken? You don't need to know who broke it or why it's broken. It's broken. If we've had a theft, there's a theft. It doesn't matter who's responsible for it. It's a theft, isn't it? Although it's nice to know who's responsible, and absolutely, bloody hell, we want to bring him to justice.
Wait, so hold up a minute. He just said it would be nice to know who the person is so they could bring him to justice, right? Hold up. Let's pause. Let's rewind.
And I've given you the name of the person you can go to ask, and I think they'll just tell you that. If they tell you who it is, I'm really chuffed for you. It'll not do you any good, I don't think. But yeah, I was just asked not to, and I'm just respecting that.
Yeah.
Honestly, he just can't keep his story straight. He can't keep up with everything that's going on. Like I honestly believe this guy's living in a bubble, and my biggest worry is he's under so much pressure now because of all of this that the likelihood of just disappearing maybe or doing any, you know, they're not concerned with getting holders whole. They're concerned with relaunching their product, recapturing the blockchain and moving forward with their privatization scheme. They were never building for this blockchain. They were building for themselves.
That's bringing somebody to justice and defining something as a theft. You know, I'm telling you, we've got a world expert, forensic expert, that they're happy it's a theft. We've got, you know, enforcement authorities around the world. They're happy it's a theft. You've got Binance and SEX. They're happy it's a theft because they've locked the wallets. So if we've got a few people, that, or maybe a lot of people that aren't happy and they don't think it's a theft, probably I'm never going to be able to convince them.
A way to try, if you can't recover these funds, is there any way that you think that you will try to get people that lost back those funds? And then since you know who it is who did it, maybe you can go after them legally to try to recoup it for yourself. I mean, it's a no thing, you know?
Every single opportunity that there is for us to repair this and put it right, we're working on. When you take, you know, we might not have been responsible for the theft, but we're doing everything we can to put this right, not just for our investors, but for Terra Classic. It's we think that TerraPort stood a real good chance to help all the developers get established. I mean, we had a short list. Well, it's actually becoming quite a long list of developers that wanted to launch, and we don't intend to let people down. We can launch. We want to launch stably or relaunch, and that's what we're working on. So it's absolutely doing everything. I'm all open to ideas that we haven't thought about, but we seem to have, nobody's come up with something that we haven't thought about as yet. But we want to make sure that TerraPort is viable. People get their investment back. But actually, we don't want them to get their investment back. We want their investments to grow.
So the concern here really isn't with holders. It's just simply with restoring their own personal campaign to become a blockchain. As you've heard, okay, we had a long list of developers wanting to launch on TerraPort. They didn't want to launch on Luna Classic, I can tell you that much. They wanted to launch on there, according to this guy. So you've heard it from the horse's mouth. He's literally tripping up so badly that it's horrible to have to do this video, but that whole 3 hours, 20 minutes to get, some small bits of information out of this guy, honestly, it's sickening. It's absolutely sickening to hear the lack of credibility to what they've done. And it's sad. It's sad. Let's keep going, folks.
So that, it becomes, even more of a success, and, users funds and so on. But yeah, so there's still, opportunities out there, and we're still working on those.
All right, folks, that was a bit of a longer video than normal. Let's just try and shut this down for what it realistically is and them saying about they're open to options. I solely believe that TerraPort have performed such a malicious act, the lack of credibility, the risk they have put into this blockchain, the negativity, and just the sheer panic. It's not good to have people like this building inside our blockchain, nor to be running our endpoints, especially not validating our blockchain and having a say in things. They want to make holders whole again. That should be their only priority, but that just doesn't seem to be the case. This has just been an absolute mismatch of watching someone dig into a hole and then try to get back out without a ladder. Likelihood is X is going to get painted on my back for this, but ultimately the community need to hear the truth and not have to sit there and listen to the crap that was fed, instead of owning up to what they've done, doing everything they can do to avoid credibility, and simply telling you all, you're not getting your funds back. The police are not even interested in the UK. I think right now we need a statement from Binance, an official statement that backs up everything that he's been saying, because currently you're getting information that's coming from a different horse's mouth and you're getting it from his mouth, but instead it's coming out of his backside. Folks, let me know what you're thinking about all of this. This has just been a crazy time clipping all of this together. I've sat here for about an hour and a half because it's a 26-minute video. I've had to listen to 3 hours. It's been insane. It's been absolutely insane. I hope now the LUNC community can start to better understand privatization in our sector, and that this was just them privatizing and more or less sapping the energy out of our own blockchain. We've got time to flourish now. This is really our time to shine, and we need to ensure that we're backing up our blockchain and not just walking away to go to somewhere else. If we believe in this, then we should support it. Folks, none of this has definitely not been financial advice. Jesus Christ, I wouldn't take financial advice from him. But stay safe, beware of scammers, beware of doppelgangers, beware of anybody pretending to be me. All of this has been for educational purposes and honestly just getting the truth out there. Folks, stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.